Being my last year in the recruiting coordinator title. I'm just one that's always loved recruiting from a very early age. Some people do it because it's part of the job, and I've done it because I love it. And I can remember I was telling Coach Streeter earlier today, December 2008, Billy Napier, who was the recruiting coordinator, getting ready to be offensive coordinator, walked across the hall, had all these big old baskets full of videos and charts and maps and everything, and just kind of threw it on my desk and said, "Good luck." Kind of smiled walking out. And I said, man, how times have changed. 7 years later, I'm going to walk across and hand Coach Streeter a little jump drive today. Has everything he needs. And so he's going to do a great job. I'm looking forward to him taking over later today. I know he's a very detail-oriented, great coach, and a great communicator, and has a passion for Clemson. Sometimes I think the recruiting coordinator probably gets too much credit. A lot of fans out there, they think that maybe that like the recruiting coordinator recruits everybody, and that's not the case. We're just kind of the ones in the background kind of managing and watching things, and we're just a small piece of that. But I do feel like we've got one of the best recruiting staffs and operations in the country. You know, I think it starts with the top, the leadership. I call them the big three of Clemson. And that's President Clements, Athletic Director Dan Radakovich, and obviously Coach Sweeney. I think they're as good as it gets in college football. And with the new age we're getting ready to go into in college football with autonomy and all of the things that's going to allow us to do, I think Clemson's in a very good position with those three at the top. You know, it takes over 200 people really to make a day like today happen. There's over 200 people from Clemson that touch these prospects at some point in the recruiting process and make it all happen. And first, it's our players. Our players are our best recruiters. We try to get the recruits on campus, get them matched up with our players, and they're some of the best ambassadors we can have. So I want to thank them, and especially since this is my last time, I just want to thank a few key people here, and then I'll answer any questions. Starting over at Vickery Hall, Steve Duzan and his staff, Wayne Kaufman, who's in his last year over there, Ashton Henderson, Matt Lombardi, Maria Herbst are all five-star academic advisors and come up every weekend that we need them to. Our pilots, who are very busy this time of year, James Allison, Dan Arblaster, Jason Williams, Graham Neff, our chief financial officer over there, assistant AD. He's a rising star in our profession, does a great job giving us the resources we need. I'd like to thank everyone from IPTAY, all the supporters. It's great to be able to go out and recruit and know that you have the ability to bring these prospects back to a place like Clemson that has some of the best facilities in the entire country. And giving us those resources really gives us a lot of confidence as we walk into those schools and into those homes. And Davis Babb, Travis Furby, their staff at IPTAY, Gary Wade, Mike Eccles at facilities. Tim just walked out. Tim Bray's been awesome. And now Joe Galbraith's done a great job. Our newest addition, video department, Todd Green, has done an excellent job of really doing a great job with all the videos. Henry Guest, Rick Bagby, Danny Poole, Jeffy Trammell in the training room, along with our doctors, Larry Bowman, Lynn Reeves. See, these are guys that show up on Saturdays on call. If we have one guy coming in, we make a call, they come no matter what. Abe Reed, DJ Gordon in the equipment room, Coach Batts and his staff in the weight room. And then up here, the ladies that really run it, our administrative assistants, Jill Wilkes, Jennifer Benton, Ren Wyndham, Beth Douglas. Our support staff, Coach Sweeney mentioned, Woody McCorvey, Mike Dooley, Jeff Davis, James Trapp, Brad Scott, and then Andy Johnston, who's in his last year. He's done more to help recruiting than I ever will in his 30 years here. And then really Thad Turnipseed's been an awesome addition and really just taken off with our recruiting department in the back, and we're light years ahead of where we were before he got here. And working in his department full-time, Jordan Sarles, Jesse Carroll are two great additions. Over 40 students that volunteer their time throughout the week, coming putting together graphics for these guys. It's just a great team. And then I think our coaching staff, our other 8 full-time assistant coaches, are some of the best coaches in the business. There's no egos. We do a lot of team recruiting. Nobody cares about who recruited who. Everybody jumps in and goes to work and works extremely hard. Also, our graduate assistant coaches, player development, analyst coaches never get enough, I think, attention for what they do behind the scenes. And then finally, our secret 5-star recruiters, I would say, is our coaches' wives. Any of y'all that have met Coach Sweeney's wife, Kathleen, know that she's a absolute rock star and wife. And we have a great group of wives. And I'll just tell you one quick story. I was talking with Garrett Williams and his family in Orlando Thursday night, kind of looking back at the 2 years recruiting Garrett, kind of asking them the questions, when did y'all know that Clemson was the place for you? And Garrett's mom, Stephanie, spoke up, and she said, I'll tell you when I knew as a mother. She said, 2 years ago, I'm at one of your games. Before the game, I'm over there eating in the paw with all the recruits, and the coaches' wives are over at another table, and I can overhear them having a conversation about what they prepared for their players on Thursday. Some of them sent cupcakes, some of them sent brownies, and she said just listening to the wives and them talk about their relationships and what they do to support your current players, that told me as a mom all I needed to know. So those wives do a great job, and my wife Sarah's been excellent. She's allowed me to get up from many meals and take my cell phone to bed, and sometimes fall asleep and wake up with my iPad laying right there in the bed. And so I'm excited, to hopefully hand a little bit of those responsibilities over to Brandon. And so I'm sure his wife, Ashley, will be talking with my wife, Sarah. So with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions you may have.
In terms of things being moved up and offering guys earlier, accepting commitments and all that, is there more of an emphasis on just trusting what you guys are seeing on film and evaluations and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's always been important, obviously, but it's even more of an emphasis.
Well, I think one reason that's happening at a lot of places is there's more information out there earlier. So the quality of video that we're getting on these prospects when they're in the 9th and 10th grade that's accessible to us, and because of having that whole recruiting department working back there, they're able to organize that. We're able to see a lot of those guys earlier in the process and learn more about them, and it kind of helps us know where to get directed early and kind of prioritize. And then on the flip side, those prospects, they got, all the social media, the internet, all those type of things. I mean, they know a lot about your program before they ever step on campus and visit, know a lot about you and all those type of things. And so I think that's kind of one thing that's allowed these guys to kind of make their decisions of top schools earlier and allowed us to kind of shorten our list and really prioritize. But, we're not in a race to get our recruiting class done. That's not, I think you could see from talking to hearing Coach Sweeney talk, that's not a goal. It's not like we're trying to see how quickly we can get it filled up. But, we do want to go after the very best players that we believe will help us win championships and also represent Clemson in a first-class way. And Coach Sweeney has done a great job, along with our coaches and support staff, of developing and really building a special culture at Clemson. So it's a special type player and special type family that really fits this culture, and it's our job to go find those guys. And when we do, whenever it is in the process, then we put a lot of effort and going to be sure they're Clemson Tigers.
Coach, when you talk about just when he got the job, how far behind Clemson was just in the recruiting operation, how would you describe just sort of the last few years, just how much progress you guys have made in terms of catching up with other programs?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and like Coach was saying, and everything that used to be done in my office, just with maybe one student assistant sitting right across from my office, now that's been replaced by Thad. He's got 40 different assistants that work back there that are working all the time. And so, a lot of times I was doing wide receiver stuff, and then at lunch I'd go in there, and for an hour and a half I'm doing recruiting during lunch, and then I go out there to practice, and I come back and do recruiting. And at some point you were turning one off to turn the other one on. And I think recruiting had just gotten so big that we needed someone to come in and be able to do nothing but recruiting full time. And I think it's allowed us really to take that next step. And I think Thad and his group back there deserves a lot of credit, and that's behind the scenes. That's not out in front of the media. It's not something that people see, but behind the scenes, it's really allowed us to take the next step.
How big of an impact has the new marketing initiative with the videos and the Twitter graphics and all that had getting recruits to campus and Clemson's brand out there?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. I think we're very fortunate being at Clemson that we do have a great brand. It's a national brand. You know, when prospects and their families see that Tiger Paws, you know, just like watching the TV today and all of the national attention that Clemson was getting. I mean, that's very, very valuable advertisement. And but I think our marketing department has done a great job here at Clemson, you know, with the athletic department, the university, and also on the football side back there in the back. Have really, you know, we got a lot to sell, and you know, we want to send that out to those prospects and let their families see that as much as they can. And it's amazing. Some of them come here for the first time, and they know every one of our coaches by name already because they've seen them in videos, they've seen pictures, they've seen all these type of things. And so it allows that, you know, recruiting is all about relationships, and so it allows that relationship to really speed up a lot whenever they're able to learn a lot about you and your program from sitting at their home.
You or Tony ever get anxious waiting on Dion and Ray?
Am I supposed to give the same answer Coach Sweeney gave? Maybe he wasn't worried, but yeah, I mean, it's always, I mean, we kind of were laughing because we really thought going into, you know, the beginning of last week that it would be a very quiet final week going into signing day, but, you know, I've been doing it long enough to know that it's never easy, it's never quiet, but, you know, really what you have to trust is a year and a half, 2 years of relationships, and that's what it comes down to, and you know, and I tell you what, Tony Elliott deserves a lot of credit. He's, you know, I told him I've walked past him about 4 or 5 times today, and every time I walk past him, I high-five him. And I mean, he hand-delivered 2 great athletes to Clemson, and you know, his relationships with those families. You know, it wasn't just withstanding this last maybe official visit weekend. There were a lot of bumps in the road and a lot of you know, arrows that were coming our way over the last year and a half for those guys. And Coach Elliott did an excellent job with them and their family. And I can tell you, talking to both Dion and Ray over the last 2 days and this morning, you know, they're fired up about Clemson and can't wait to get here. We feel the same way.
Jeff, Chad had such a huge impact on the program and especially on the offense. Doesn't seem like you guys had any of your skill guys even waver, or did some of them? Did that ever even come up?
Yeah, you know, obviously, you know, Coach Morris did an excellent job. He brought a special attitude and type of offense here to Clemson, which is what Coach Sweeney was really looking for. And, you know, we can't thank him enough for that. We knew because of the success that Coach Morris has had here at Clemson and throughout his career that it was going to only be a matter of time before he left to be a head coach. So that wasn't something that we just, you know, woke up and found out here in December. We knew over the last 3 years that eventually that was going to come. And Coach Sweeney had a plan for how he was going to handle that. But, you know, I think what it speaks to more than maybe just myself or Tony or Coach Sweeney, I think it speaks to the type of players that we're getting committed to Clemson. They're choosing Clemson for the right reasons. You know, we don't want any player to choose Clemson because of one coach or because, you know, they get to rub a rock and run down a hill in front of, you know, 80,000 fans. We want them to choose Clemson because of the whole experience. And it's Clemson's a lot bigger than just one coach and or just, you know, certain things on game day. And so I think that was ultimately, you know, the difference is the fact that, you know, the guys that were committed to Clemson chose Clemson for the right reasons. And then, you know, I think it's been also valuable. Coach Elliott and myself, who were involved in recruiting a lot of these skill guys, you know, it actually worked the opposite of maybe what some other coaches were hoping it would do. They got excited because they knew that the guys they knew the best were going to have a chance to elevate and have more opportunity and some of the play calling and stuff. So it was pretty seamless, and then I think the bowl game was definitely a positive.
At what point did you start to realize that you needed to change the way you were recruiting the Google Clemson Golf stuff? When did you realize that you were kind of behind?
Well, I think, you know, it's something that we always talked about, Coach Sweeney. You know, the thing about Coach Sweeney is he's never satisfied. He's always got a vision of what he wants. He's always thinking one step ahead, and we've obviously had some success, you know, the last few years in recruiting, but he's never satisfied. He's always wanting to find ways to get better, and he wants to do that throughout the entire program, but obviously in recruiting. And so that was something that probably 2 years ago we really started talking about, and you know, trying to find the right way to do it and find the right person to do it. And he made a great selection in hiring Thad, and he just took it off and ran. So I'd say about the last 2 years ago was really the time that we got real serious with that.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about your dad and Thad. Could you expound on what difference that has made over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, my dad has moved into a role that, he's kind of there for the seniors and juniors before they get here. He communicates a lot with them and their families and their coaches and the guidance department, really looking at their academic profile and being sure that they're doing the right things in order to qualify with the NCAA and the Eligibility Center, and also to meet the expectations for Clemson admissions. And then once they get to Clemson, he's in charge of those freshmen, and he kind of looks after those guys and helps them with that transition. And with all of his experience, many years of coaching, he knows the problems and the things that'll be happening to them over the next year, so he's able to kind of look after them. But it really takes a lot off of our coaches, because all we have to do is bring back that transcript, give it to him. He works it up, and he gives us great directive as we go into the schools. And then, Thad's really on the side of the very beginning, really as the video comes in, and helping that video go through the process of getting evaluated. Then the names get put up on the board. Then once the names are on the board, prioritizing the mail-out plan, the graphics, everything we do from a big picture recruiting perspective, where the coaches are going out, how are they going, the planes, the cars, all those type of things. So Dad's kind of looking at the big picture, and my dad kind of has that niche with the guys incoming, and then once they get here as freshmen.
Was there a moment that you knew that this was going to be a great recruiting class? Is there a specific moment that you can remember?
Yeah, I think Mitch Hyatt committing last year on signing day, that was a big, we knew a year and a half ago that offensive line was going to be a major part of this class, a major focus. And, we felt like Mitch was one of the best there was in the country. And so whenever he committed last year on signing day, I think that was a strong statement that we were able to go out to some of the other recruits that were close, because they're all watching each other. And Mitch was kind of the bell cow, if you will, kind of for that class, similar to how Deshaun Watson did his several years earlier, and we were able to build the 14 class around him. But I think, like Coach Sweeney said, we're starting this process when these guys are in the 9th and 10th grade, and that's, before any of the rankings or any of that stuff comes to fruition. So really, you're making decisions based off your evaluations and the guys that you get in. And then the fun part is to kind of watch them. Once you kind of know who your guys are going to be, your pool of guys, kind of watch them as they go over the next 2 years and have the success. And it's a lot of fun to be able to kind of enjoy that process with them. But I think early on we felt like we were in on the right guys, and it's just a lot of things have to fall in place to make that happen, and we're fortunate that did with this class.
Anybody else? One more. How much did you use Deshaun Watson as a recruiting tool?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I've learned, and really goes back to C.J. Spiller and especially Sammy Watkins, everybody that came to Clemson wanted to see and spend time with Sammy Watkins. And what we realized is, for him to be a student athlete, we had to be very careful about his time, and not every time we get a great player on campus, which is about every other weekend, try to pull him over there for 5 or 6 hours. And so having that experience, I think Deshaun and Artavis Scott are kind of two of the guys that a lot of these younger guys look up to. And so, we do, those guys are great. They'll come over on junior days when we have official visit weekends and go to the basketball game with our guys. But we try to, be careful at the same time and not wear them out, and realize they're not, full-time recruiters. They're a student athlete going through, a great time in their life. But, it helps. And the players know, whenever they come, they can spend 10 minutes with Deshaun or, any of our guys, and they can tell you know what, these guys love it here. And what those coaches are telling me, I see it exactly whenever I'm around their players. And so, that's one of the best things for us to do, is to get these guys around our players. And, they do a lot of the recruiting for us. So, all right, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Thad, and